Yo, what's up guys, it's Talon. We've been playing a lot of Viego lately and we're going to show you a very insane comeback because this champion is super good for comebacks, and I kind of want to talk about Viego and just jungling as a whole throughout this game. I'm going to give a little update on what I plan to do with my content going forward in terms of YouTube videos. If you're not interested in that, you just want to go straight to the video, timestamp in the description will tell you when to go for the game. Anyways, basically we finished most of the Google Doc, so if you guys don't know, I had a Google Doc. It's linked in the description of all my recent videos. It's all the key concepts you need to understand for Wild Rift, and I created videos associated with those concepts. I have videos now for a lot of the main concepts, and as I was creating more of those videos, I kind of realized there was a lot of redundancy if I really wanted to expand it further. For example, teaching you how to lane on a tank Baron laner versus a bruiser Baron laner, there's not that much difference. Teaching you how to lane as an assassin mid versus a mage, there's not that many differences. There's a few, but a lot of the concepts of punishing last hits or whatever else, they apply to every role. And so at this point, I have completed most of that. I might make a video on Baron lane gold per minute specifically, but even that I'm not too sure about because I kind of have videos that help with that type of stuff already. So basically, I'll continue to add that to that doc, but it'll be a lot more of the additional video section where it's like, this video can help you get better, but it's not necessarily a specific concept. Most of the specific concepts are already there. So going forward, I want to make a lot more videos focused on specific games and analyzing what I did in those games that specifically was unique about that game, which is kind of what I did before. And I want to especially get into, again, like applying all of the concepts now that hopefully you've watched those videos or you're continuing to watch those videos and you've applied those different concepts and you've gotten better at them, and then showing you how all of those concepts can be applied together rather than having a gameplay where I'm just talking about one thing. So that's pretty much the gist of that. We're going to get into the gameplay now. So this game, you're going to see me be very stupid at the start. And I'm basically just going to show you, again, all of the different stuff, just commentate over this game as I kind of used to do. So initially, I decided to path towards bot lane. Reason for that is Malphite into Singed, not really gankable, and this is what I mean by the stupid thing I do. I decided to go and try to hit the Singed proxying, and I screw myself. He gets level 2, and I get completely screwed early. That was super stupid of me. I don't know why I did that. Like, if you literally watch any of my videos, I tell you to always like full clear and not do these random things. And sometimes you can see, you get sucked into stupid stuff that makes no sense, and that's what happened here. And so I really screw myself over level 1. Definitely not a good start, but we'll also kind of talk about how we can recover from that. Luckily, the enemy Wukong doesn't really punish us by trying to invade or anything, so we're mostly fine. But yeah, basically early game we want to path towards duo lane because there's not very much volatility. A champion like Viego, he's not bad early game, he's definitely strong early game, but he doesn't have much like gank setup himself. Like, he can't just force a gank on someone. And so I can't just like force a kill on a Singed or a hard to kill champion. I have to go to champions that are pretty easy to kill, and a lot of times the ways you're actually going to get kills is going to be through dives. So playing towards winning lane matchups is pretty important as well, because usually, again, like, you can only really get ganks that are guaranteed to work. If the enemy overextend a bit, landing your W is very often not going to happen, unless they're very overextended, or like actually being able to close the gap on them. You're not going to be able to do that the same way you can on Vi or Warwick. So really what I'm looking to is just play very consistently. So even when an early game goes bad, like you're going to see this early game go bad, not for me, but for my team, you just play consistently well, you just focus on your farming, you don't do random things like try to kill a Singed proxying level 1. That obviously makes no sense. And so again, this game we're just basically full clearing after our initial silly thing. We sweep as soon as we get our full clear done, and we're pretty much just looking for a scuttle at this point. And this is a lot of times the timer that you'll be able to dive someone on. Here we don't, because the enemy are pushed, further or they recall, and they're pushed back under the turret, but this is often the time where you can find a dive if the enemy are low enough health. Oftentimes you also want to be not matching the enemy jungler. If they have winning matchup, you want to match them if, they have kind of a losing jungle matchup. But basically at this point, my camps are respawning later than normal because I cleared them later than normal, so we have a time where we do want to force a gank. And we noticed that Singed is low mana, so it's pretty hard for him to flip me, because if he flips me, he's going to have like nothing else, which is why we know that we're kind of able to force here. So I flash and I W him, and then I'm basically waiting for him to use his flash before I follow with my ultimate. Don't want to hold on to all my mobility, or I don't want to use all my mobility. We want to hold on to some of it until they use their mobility, like a flash. Again, that's a very common concept that we talk about a lot. And so using that lets me get a kill, and then at this point my camp starts spawning. So again, apart from my stupid early play, you saw me go for that, you know, gank after my camps are cleared. Not before my camps are cleared, after they're cleared. And that's typically when you want to be forcing plays for the most part. Then here is something that I want to talk about that's actually really important. I noticed this specifically. I was watching a Chinese Viego player when I was trying to learn Viego because I'm not very good at him. I'm kind of getting better at him. This guy would very often take mid waves before 6 minutes. And you don't want to do that most of the time. But you want to do it when your mid laner is dead or your mid laner is rotated and the wave's going to die anyway. So my mid laner is dead here, so I can just get free gold from this wave. And like, this is just how I'm just getting an additional little bit of XP, like, you know, 50, 100 extra gold. And that really boosts your gold per minute a lot compared to anything else you could be doing with that time. Like, I spend, what, 5 seconds going for that? And within those 5 seconds, I got like 50 gold and some XP. So doing those simple things is actually really important for champions like Viego and gold reliant champions. And just in general is an important kind of thing to understand. If your mid laner is over rotating and he's leaving a lot of waves, you know, to die to turret or to die to waves that are just like matched, take the extra time to get that gold. There's no reason really not to. And at this point, again, you can kind of see the early game doesn't really go well. I'm the only one with a kill. My team's relatively behind, but I'm still clearing towards the gank. I'm not like immediately walking forward and going to gank these people because my teammate was already dead. I'm waiting until I clear a camp and then I clear a camp towards it. But I do skip the Gromp because obviously they're going to leave, you know, afterwards. So I skip the Krugs, not the Gromp. And then here I just get the Scuttle first because I think they might contest Scuttle, you know, so you want to make sure you're always kind of taking the thing that they're going to contest or that will die. So if a wave's about to die to your turret, you take the wave first. If a Scuttle, which is a neutral objective, you know, either person could get it, you want to go that first. Whereas you get your camps afterwards because your camps are always going to be there. You're usually not going to get invaded randomly. So that's kind of where the order of operations comes in. And ultimately, that's kind of the biggest thing I see a lot of people struggle with in the early games, is choosing what order to do things in. Do I gank and then farm? Do I farm and then gank? And usually, again, like the times where you're going to gank are going to be in a situation like this, where you don't have camps up. Or another time where it's going to be totally okay to force a gank is when that gank's not going to be there 10 seconds from now. So, and again, like what I plan on doing in these videos is skipping back to kind of explain my concepts further rather than just going straight through a gameplay. So to explain this, again, you see in this situation, I skip Gromp. The reason I skip Gromp is because this gank's not going to be there 5 seconds from now because they just got their third turret plate. Obviously, they're going to leave after a third turret plate because my teammates are coming back, so they're not going to get a fourth turret plate. So I know they're going to leave after this. And because I know they're going to leave after this, I only have a brief time where I can force anything. Now, because I didn't have ultimate, maybe I didn't have to force. But again, you can see, like, this is when I'm okay with looking for plays, is when I either don't have camps up or that play is not going to be there soon. And then after a play works out, always help your teammate push the wave and play for plates. Like, even though I took one, you know, cannon, which obviously ideally I don't last hit it, it doesn't matter because the point is we're trying to get plates out of this, taking more out of your ganks and out of your kills that you get. No one can cover, and the only person that could cover could be their jungler, or now their mid laner, or their top laner rather, who rotates late, which I'm fine with their top laner rotating like this. Like, that's not bad for me at all. But yeah, take as much as you can out of plays. Like, we got 3 turret plates there. That increases my gold per minute substantially. And then I go back to farming. So again, the reason I did the plates there instead of farming camps right away is because the plates, I only have a brief opportunity where I can get those. I can only get those plates as the enemy mid laner is dead. I obviously can't get them when he's alive. He's going to defend them. And so I use that time to get them. And again, here I was thinking about covering the mid wave. And then I do end up deciding to just cover it. Again, like, not losing these plates is very important because those plates, the enemy can't get them, you know, 5 seconds from now. They can only get them right now. And I didn't want to die, so I do back off eventually. But again, like, those plates, they can't be gotten 5 seconds from now. So defending those is important. Now, you might be wondering why in this situation, I decide to not recall and then go to an objective. So very often when I'm, you know, making my videos about the concepts, I say recall 20 or 30 seconds before an objective, and this is entirely true. But if we look at the situation right now, we don't really have a great way to contest anyone. Like, none of my lanes are winning. I'm strong, but nobody else on my team is really very strong. And I understand that the way that we win this game is through scaling. Like, look at my team comp, right? Jinx and Lulu super scaling. Viego, he scales really, really well. You know, Malphite and Morgana, they both scale super well as well. So everyone on my team is insane scaling, and our early game is going bad. The way that the early game is going to go even worse when we're behind like this is through a lot of fighting happening. The way that we win the game is through me getting really, really fed because I'm, again, the person who is super fed on my team at this point. And so I understand that, and so I don't overforce an objective. I'm like, okay, let me wait till I see the enemy and where they go for an objective. Let me clear my camps, and then I can go up, and then I can look for the objective late here. And so now it's like, okay, I can try to get this objective if I see a good angle to contest, or if the enemy don't contest. So for example, Singed here gives me an angle to get a bunch of damage on him because the Singed was low mana. And so I'm able to force a good, bit, like a good chunk on him, and then also my dual laner rotating here. So now we have a good fight, whereas if I were to immediately force Herald, yes, I would have probably gotten the Herald, but I would have missed out on the 150 gold that I got from my Raptors earlier, as we saw right here. And I would have, again, lost more plates to Lux. I wouldn't have gotten some of those, some of that mid wave. And again, we probably would just end up getting Herald guaranteed, but all that Herald's going to give us is 250 gold from the drop and a possible turret, when it's going to be really hard to force turrets anyways if we don't really have, prio or winning lanes, or we just, go to like a pretty bad fight. So it's really just not as valuable as me still having the chance to get the Herald, but then getting that guaranteed, again, 150 gold, so my camp's coming up sooner as well. And again, so we can have a better fight like later on. So you don't have to always overvalue contesting an objective right away if the game is looking bad and your win condition does not require you to get these early objectives, which again, it doesn't really as Viego with this much of a scaling comp. But then we find a pretty good fight angle here. We do end up getting stunned for like an hour, but we end up getting the Viego. We go invulnerable there, and we're able to get the objective again, you see, because we're not overforcing these fights. Like, we realize if the enemy do contest, they're probably going to be contesting weaker. So again, like if we go back, and again, this is what I plan on doing in these videos, is skipping around and showing you guys. So I know some people prefer just a raw gameplay. I feel like there's plenty of YouTubers who do that, which is why I want to explain more in detail my thought process and whatnot, and show to you guys, how these different situations work. So again, like if we look at when they kill Dragon, right? When do they kill Dragon? So look at Wukong's items right now. So as you saw, I recalled because I waited and I farmed and then I got my gold, I got my items. So I got full items. So I hit Essence Reaver plus boots. If we look at Wukong right now, Wukong hasn't finished Trinity Force, even though he has enough gold for Trinity Force. 48, 33, that's enough for Trinity Force. So he could be getting it right now with his boots. But instead, if we look at what he does, he's going to do the Dragon, and then immediately after Dragon, he walks straight to Herald. So oftentimes a jungler will try to force both objectives like the Wukong does here, but he's weaker. Again, their Singed is low mana, whereas we see my Malphite is recalling, so he's going to come back again with gold spent, with his mana, with his health. Whereas the Singed is low health, low mana. We chunk him out here. Now they have a chunked out Singed who just lost his flash, or Ghost, one or the other, I forget. But then they have a Wukong without Trinity Force, when again, I'm a jungler, I have my first item. He doesn't have his first item. And so again, I'm just way stronger than him here. I do get rooted for an hour and a half, which is a little sad, But luckily, because again, the enemy are a lot weaker, they're not doing as much. And then obviously their dual lane don't rotate, and so they're over contesting when their dual lane aren't even here. Their dual lane made the right play. Their dual lane should just get the turret. Their winning lane, they should just snowball through their own lane. But the enemy try to overforce. And then because they overforce, now again, let's think about the situation here. Wukong spent a lot of time on Dragon side, right? Which is his blue side. Because he was getting Dragon, that's what he was preparing for. He was on that side of the map for a while. And so where did he not go for a while? He didn't go to his red side for a while. And so he tries to late contest my Herald without spending his gold, without clearing his red side camps, which means if he does lose that fight, which he's likely to lose because he doesn't have his items, he then loses his camps as well. As you can see, in the long run, I'm able to get multiple different camps. I'm able to then get an entire turret. I'm able to reset, go back to my red side, and now I have the ability to drop Herald here if I want. I don't remember if I do, I'd be totally fine with me dropping it or not. Really, either is fine, because I can just look for, a Herald drop at any point. But instead, I use the reset so I can get back to clearing my camps, which is, perfectly fine choice. And again, we're very, very strong at this point. 2-0-1, good gold. And again, our win condition is scaling. Like, we don't need to be hard winning the game, and yet we're still in a relatively decent spot. And you're going to see this game is going to go very bad. Obviously, the titles, the comeback is kind of what's really interesting about this game. But you can see how all these things, even when like my laners, you could pretty much objectively see were bad. Like, they were losing their lane, and I would say not objectively bad, but they were losing lane. And despite that, we're able to do all these things just through patience to end up being in a relatively fine spot. Here, I should have checked if Singed had Gargoyle. I didn't know he had Gargoyle, and so we get surprised by that. And because of that, we're not able to kill him. So that's one of the main reasons it's super important to check if the enemy has stasis, if they have gargoyle, if they have these things, because if you don't check, you're going to be surprised by it like I was there. So that's kind of an important thing to note. And then at this point, again, we're just looking for as much gold as possible around the map. So we're going to get our camp. We got our blue there. We reset, spend our gold, then go bot side, because bot side's a place where I can drop Herald and get some gold, or hit with the Malphite. If I think I end up... So here, I hit with Malphite because I know I can just kill it, but then Malphite's going to die here. I should have probably just dropped Herald for it to be a bit safer, because then he would have got it right away and we could have left. So kind of my bad there. If I just drop Herald, he's not going to die. So that's just like a thing. Like, I was trying to save it to see if I can get a tier 2, but we don't really get value out of this Herald. And I'm mostly okay with that. So I always tell people I want you to hold on to Herald. Don't just drop it right as you get it, because you want to use the recall. And you also want to try to get it on a tier 2 or use it for a dive. The problem is I didn't drop it on bot at the end. Like, you want to hold on to it for a while, but when it's expiring, just drop it on bot. Whereas now I drop it top to distract them during Dragon, because at this point I realized it's about to expire. I'm not going to get obviously a tier 2 turret out of it. So I'll just use it to distract them so I can get the Dragon potentially. But definitely not the best value, you know, that we could have got here. And unfortunately the Sona ult's kind of zoning me. But we're basically just looking for a pick here again. Very, very much a patience-focused champion. I say as I ult onto someone, but we were kind of waiting to see if Singed would use any cooldowns. He ends up flashing pretty late, and so he does bait out my ult there. But I was kind of, you know, waiting until he gets low enough, waiting until I could do something. But here I realized I don't have ult. I'm not really that valuable in the fight, so I decided to just contest the Dragon instead. At least get something out of it. And this is where the game kind of starts to go pretty bad, I believe. The enemy are just, you know, overall kind of winning the early game. And at this point, we mostly just have to be patient, wait until we can find picks on someone, and not too much more than that. So here, yeah, I think the Wukong kind of very often this game would just jump on me, and he barely dies there. But then I do try to look for an outplay, you know, as a cocky former rank 1 Wukong, you know, I have to show off my skills when I take over the Wukong. And so I'm looking to one-shot her. We do get her, but I believe I die like immediately after there. Yeah, I could have ulted out probably and lived. I was trying to get the reset there, but yeah, definitely greedy. Whereas if I got the outplay there, it would have been really good. Viego is definitely a champion with really insane limits. Like, obviously you're going to see here, we're already 3 items. You're going to see a lot of insane kind of stuff later on in the game, but if you get one reset, you can kind of carry an entire fight. He's just a champion where also, obviously, if you understand the champions you're taking over, like I play a lot of Wukong, for example, you can find really insane engages, especially if you take over an engaged champion or like a tankier, you know, champ with mobility, like Wukong, like if you take over like a Thresh or a Nautilus. These types of things can be really, really OP, excuse me, with Viego. And so that's really what you're looking for. It's like, take over that one person, you kind of snowball the fight from there, but you have to be very patient around it, especially in a game like this, where I don't really have, you know, again, like the team that's doing the best. Like, I'm kind of the fed one on my team, and so I have to be very, very patient throughout the game. I'm pretty much just trying to get whatever gold I can through waves. So I farm a camp, let me look for waves after that, and then pretty much just use my E to kind of hover around and see if I can find any picks. And that's mostly what I'm looking for. Lulu gets one shot. That was kind of insane. And then through this, again, in this situation, we kind of realized, like, this is not going well unless the enemy overextend. Probably not that much that I can do. I do end up getting the camp, but honestly, shouldn't have really gone for that camp. Like, it didn't do anything. So again, if we look at that, like, I smited for a camp when obviously they're going to be looking for Baron here, and the way we lose the game is them getting Baron, not them getting one of my camps. So kind of unnecessary for me to do that, but I did it nonetheless. And pretty much here, we're just looking for resets. But again, if nothing shows up when you're playing a champion like Viego, when you realize that your team scales really well, you don't want to overforce and go and die in all these situations. Contest a mid wave, for example, instead. And, you know, Lux, I try to outplay her there, but it doesn't really work. So I knew I can kill her if I dodge her Q, and if I dodge her Q, then we can win the fight there. So that's why I'm like looking for that outplay. But generally speaking, if your teammates are making these mistakes and your win condition is later on in the game, you can kind of give it up. Like, you saw how we didn't over contest that. We tried to see if we could find an angle, but then we realized, okay, we can't. Let me just, you know, cut our losses and at least get a bot wave, push out a second bot wave, and then reset after that. So again, Viego is a very good comeback champion, because if you take over their fed member one time, you can literally like ace the enemy. And so that's pretty much like what this champion is really insane at. They're Wukong multiple times kind of inting into me and giving me angles to find outplays has allowed me to do stuff like this. And then we get the outplay on the Lux as well. But I believe I ended up dying here still. Yeah, I was a little greedy for that Sona, honestly. Again, multiple times, a little bit of greed kind of cost me some stuff. It's not bad, the outcome here. But definitely if I was a little bit safer there after I got the 2 kills instead of trying to outplay and get the Sona, would have been okay. So you can see definitely some greed leading to us not being able to entirely outplay or entirely kind of carry the game. But yeah, I'm kind of getting used to Viego. It's a champion I've not played a lot of, so definitely still... I've had a lot of games where I'm fed on him, and then I get a reset, and then I go to aggro, or I int for a reset because I don't keep track of a flash, or like a champion has a gargoyle like the Singed did earlier. And so learning to keep track of those things is super important when you're playing like assassin-y kind of champions, especially champions who are reliant on resets. Whereas a lot of the junglers I play are more tanky, you know, Warwick, Vi, even Wukong's and Zhao. Like all these champions, they have a little bit more forgiveness. And so playing these champions with less forgiveness, you really have to be super on point in terms of jungle tracking and in terms of your, or not jungle tracking, in terms of spell tracking and your overall patience. So you can see in a lot of these situations, we're just trying to be patient, and then sometimes I get a bit too greedy. Here we tell Lulu, if Lulu follows me, we win, because I have like 13k gold here, I think, or something. I mean, I just hit 4 items, and I'm the most fed person in the game. So even though the game is going bad, I can get 1 reset and we can still win the game because I am so fed. And so like that's when I'm okay with typing. Like I tell people to mute chat, and you should, and I do mute chat, but I'll turn it on to say that one thing because I actually think that can win me the game. Like I think, you know, if the Lulu actually follows me, she will be able to do enough for me to win. This is a legendary queue, by the way. We're a legendary challenger in this game. But yeah, we reset. I believe I end up getting going for the Ma because they do have the a lot of AP, you know, with like Lux bursting me down, Sona, Singed, whatnot. And we get a stasis, so it's a little easier if we do end up inting to kind of stall and possibly get 1 reset. You're going to see the stasis be really clutch at times. But basically, again, all we're doing here is we just continue to look for a reset. Like early game, you kind of saw, again, the thought process to at least get to this point. And now at this point, it's just like, can I get a reset at some point? If we're able to find 1 reset, we can kind of, you know, just win the game from there. And so one time someone makes a mistake, and you saw the Wukong, he was a lot of times the person kind of giving me the initial resets, and I'm, you know, very thankful for him for that. But a lot of times you find the one kind of enter on the enemy, and if you find them, that's sort of how you're going to be winning the game. But again, we just get picked off here really early on, and we're not really able to get anything out of it. I believe the enemy go and get Baron here, but I don't remember for sure. But yeah, I mean, again, it's just patience. Like you can't overforce as an assassin champion when the enemy or when your teammates, you know, just keep dying like so fast there. I have to just accept that sometimes they're going to die really, really quickly. There's not much we can do about it. We give up the Baron. You saw again, like I'm just waiting for anything to happen. I'm not trying to force or make a play happen that isn't there. I'm waiting until the enemy make a mistake. And this is the mistake that we're talking about. Like Wukong goes forward because he got Baron and multiple of my teammates are dead. He thinks he's going to be perfectly fine. And instead he ends up just not being fine, and we're able to find double kill there. Try to look for the flash onto Sona, but then we end up having to chase her pretty deep here. We do end up killing her barely though, because my champion does an insane amount of damage. But again, even though most people there, I feel like, would try to go and contest Baron and then die for Baron, I realize like there's no way I'm ever getting into Baron there. I'm going to just get zoned out and die. So instead, I'm going to be looking for something like this. Again, we then use the stasis after we get the kill onto the Ezreal. We take over the Ezreal, and we get kind of an insane outplay, and somehow, somehow we don't die there. And again, I'm pretty good at Ezreal, so I take over an Ezreal, I'm going to be happy. You know, get some good damage on the Singed, and then combo onto him, and we kill the Singed. So it's like, if I take over the Ezreal or the Wukong this game, I'm really happy. If I take over the other 3 champions, I'm not as good at those champions. So it's kind of funny sometimes playing Viego. You know, there's like certain champions you take over, and you know you're going to pop off on them. But we get the Ma now, so we get our full items, and this is, again, where we can potentially find a comeback. But again, it's about patience. Like, this is what I want you to kind of see throughout this video. In these games where your teammates are really quite, you know, int, but you have a win condition, like insane scaling, or like you're a mega carry assassin and you're really fed, you have to be patient. You can't force just because it was the situation you wanted to go in on, but your teammates didn't, or your teammates got caught before. You have to wait until the enemy give you an opportunity to go in, or your teammates provide something. You can't force everything yourself as Viego, the same way you can as Vi or Warwick or something. But then here, we force the Elder because their Singed is dead, and I can force a fight through making people come into me on an objective, but I can't force a fight by going into them because, again, I'm not an engaged champion. And so by doing this and by realizing how fast we kill with double ADC, because, you know, Viego is basically an ADC, we make it so that they have to come into us instantly. We know this is our best chance to win because we're currently behind in the game. The enemy have Baron. If we don't get this Elder and we don't win a fight, we're probably going to lose the game. So we know we have to force here. Like, again, this isn't the fact that this is the perfect flip. The fact that this is a good flip because, again, I'm the only one who's really fed on my team. My teammates are making a lot of mistakes, and frequently we are, you know, dying. And I don't expect us to be able to win if the game just keeps progressing like this. So I need to find some way to force, and forcing when the Singed is dead is by far the best time to force. And here you're going to see we're able to actually burst it down so fast that they can't even contest it. We get the smite on that, and now we have the Elder Dragon, which again is obviously our kind of win condition here, is getting some type of fight on the Elder. Unfortunately, that is a Wukong clone. You know, a little sad there that it wasn't the real deal, but either way, we're basically, again, just sitting here waiting for some type of reset, waiting for something to happen. But I can't force anything. We kind of have to wait till the Baron minions are cleared. I'm basically just hovering here, looking for a pick. Again, one person ints into me, and all of a sudden, I can kill pretty much everyone. Like, that's kind of how Viego works. And so we're kind of waiting for that one moment to appear. And you're going to see, I think, a lack of patience again a little later, you know, just a little bit here where I end up getting caught. Like, I think it's here. Yeah, it's here where I ult in, but I did not hit the Wukong. And I was thinking, like, okay, we lost the game now. Like, the fact that I didn't get the Wukong there and my teammate died, like, I don't think we can win. But I'm basically, again, just sitting here continuing to try to find a pick because I'll pretty much one-shot anyone with Elder Dragon. So one person walks forward randomly, and that's enough. My stasis is now up. Again, stasis is super clutch on a champion like Viego. And so we're just basically looking for a pick here. But this is when, yeah, I get caught. Luckily, the stasis, I'm able to tank a bunch of things. And then somehow, I have no idea how, I kill the Wukong here. I'm able to W over the wall. And then I'm able to ult back over. And I have absolutely zero clue how we win this fight. But somehow we win the fight, and because of that, we're kind of able to, you know, force from there. Even get a little aggressive there, and we still have bot wave pushing. It's still very messy. We know we kind of have to push out the waves in mid in order to be able to end or do anything. And even here, we can't end through Ezreal, so we have to go back for Baron. And again, this is a patience thing. You've seen multiple times when most people would want to, you know, again, just overforce, and we see if we can end there, but we realize we can't. We just go back to the Baron, and we get the Baron. Playing the game slow, letting it, again, go longer. The longer the game goes with the Lulu, Jinx, Viego, Malphite, Morgana, like, we're completely happy with this. And so we end up just setting up again. I guess Wukong inted into me here. I should probably show that. But again, we just don't overforce here. Like, that is what I want you guys to take away from this video. That's kind of what I want you to see throughout the video. And again, we find the kill on the Wukong. Jinx does die, but me getting Wukong, definitely fine with that. Though Jinx is kind of one of our bigger sieging champions, so it's a little bit unfortunate. But we don't end up finding anything there. And so we just, again, go and push top. Rather than going and grouping mid and A-roaming with our team, just have the patience to just go top, push out top side, then get ready to just let my team siege here. Again, I realize, like, I can't actually be the one taking the turrets. I'm a squishy Viego, even if I am full build. I need to let my team be the ones to push. And so, again, there's so many different times when I could have thrown here, and there were some times where I did throw, and luckily we didn't lose because of it. But letting my team force here, realizing that Morgana, if she plays this slow, can just poke out the enemy, and the Baron is going to slowly do all of the work for us. Then the enemy will get distracted topside. When they get distracted topside, that's when I decide to push the mid turret. And I just let things, again, progress naturally. I don't try to do anything crazy, and we wait until some type of reset shows up. So a lot of games are going to be like this when you're playing these assassin champions, where you want to do more than you can. You just don't have the agency to. And so you kind of see, again, now we just push out the bot lane, we play this very slow, methodical, and this is kind of how we should have been playing it in certain situations where I was kind of over-forcing. And that's definitely, again, one of the main things I've learned, because assassins are probably my worst archetype, and I would call Viego an assassin. I know he's not necessarily the exact same as every assassin, but he's an assassin in my mind. And that's definitely my worst archetype of champions overall. Even though I've been rank 1 Echo and I've played these and I'm not, like, bad at them, definitely I sometimes lack the patience needed to, like, really carry on them compared to some of the best assassin players. And again, these are the types of things that you can see represented. Like, a lot of the best situations here were when I was really patient, when I waited for something specific to show up, waited for my engaged champions to make the plays rather than overforcing. And then again, we just pretty much wait until someone like Wukong gives us an angle to go in on him. We get the reset on Wukong, and from there it's pretty easy to kind of play the fights. We get the kill on Singed. Try to flash to KS. Sadly, I didn't KS. Very sad about that. But we're able to end. And so this is kind of an insane carry. Like, I actually have no idea how we won this game. Some insane resets leading to us winning. And yeah, I kind of want to show you guys my thought process more throughout games again, because I have noticed with these Google Docs, or with the videos I've been making with my Google Doc that are focused on specific concepts, people are able to learn those concepts well and apply them. But a lot of people struggle to look at the more, niche scenarios, like things like a game like this, where I didn't contest either objective at the early game at the start, or where I didn't contest Baron even though, a couple of my teammates were alive because we didn't have any ability to contest it. And so those types of things are, again, what I kind of want to be focused on with some of my videos. And it also is a little easier for me to make those videos rather than it takes like usually, a little longer to make the other videos. So definitely check out the Google Doc if you want to understand the concepts. We'll make some more videos on that, but largely going to be done with those, and then we'll focus more on some gameplay stuff. Going to be spamming a lot of Viego. I want to try to get really, really good at Viego. So you'll see a lot of Viego games and a lot of jungle games. I'm not going to be spamming as much of every role anymore. Going to play a lot of jungle, maybe some mid or ADC as well. But either way, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.